Go.
Oh, I love doing these with you, Eric. And so here we are back again. And this time we're going to look at the Aries super full moon happening on October 6th, 2025. Perigee Aries super full moon, we could say. So perigee means when the moon is closest to the earth. So of course it looks bigger. And now many astrologers are referring to it as a supermoon or a super full moon. So that's why we have both in here because it's just to give that sense of why is it a supermoon? Anyway, so
Yes.
yes, this is also an off the charts amazing full moon, in addition to the fact that it's closest to the earth and it's going to have a greater impact. So I think ready to go to the next slide.
Yes. Yeah, we can do that.
So this is a quote that's basically kind of sums up Aries and it says courage above all things is the first quality of a warrior. Doesn't mean they're not afraid. It just means they have the courage to face their fear and do it anyway. To climb that mountain, to accomplish that thing, or do whatever it is, and that's very much an Aries quality.
Yeah, and we could even to some degree, I mean, even Leo has a certain element around that too.
Yeah,
Or just kind of a quality of fire. But
yeah.
I think Aries is like the probably has it as a like a main quality.
Right. And I mean, if you consider the quality of a warrior, because Aries is very much about the warrior energy, but it's not and we're going to talk about this quite a bit. It's not the quality of a warrior who goes to war just for the sake of going to war. It's about to defend, to protect, to restore justice, to do, something that's of a worthy nature.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we'll be talking a lot about some of those qualities in close to the second half of this sharing about the full moon in Aries. Um, all right, so here's a quote that I used in a previous presentation I've done about the masculine and the healthy expression of it as well as the toxic expression as far as the whole presentation. But this is from James Hollis, who's crediting C.G. Jung. And he says, to live the journey of the soul is to serve nature, to serve others, and to serve that mystery of which we are the experiment. Then we will have incarnated the invisible, made luminous this short episode between two great mysteries. So the two great mysteries being in between lives, if you will, like before incarnation and after incarnation. And it's a really powerful thing. So when you think of like the Aries warrior, this is part of what it is about. We can even think of maybe even a little bit in the Sagittarius realm with the journey part, but at the same time, this is I've always loved this quote, and he it's in from comes from the book Under Saturn's Shadow: The Wounding and Healing of Men, which I recommend everyone read. This is especially important for the time in which we're living now. With there's this rampant toxic masculinity that's out there in the world.
Yeah. Yep. And perhaps this aspects of this full moon will help to energize the healing that is, I think, happening for many, and also the wounding happening for many. So it might energize that too. I don't know. I guess it depends on where you're at.
Yeah. And we can all choose this. We have free will to um s- well, I would say create space for it to open into that area of our lives, and all of us can participate. All right.
So
Kaylin.
healthy Aries. And now this is um a slide of the sky of where the full moon will be located, and also the stars it's going to be connected to, and we'll talk about that. And also some of the other planets that might be visible. Well, Neptune wouldn't be visible, but Saturn might be visible that night, possibly. Anyway, but just to get a sense of some of the healthy aspects of Aries, It's bold, it's daring, it's assertive, it's optimistic. I think all the fire signs are optimistic and could be bold and daring and assertive as well. It's also charismatic, and we could see that with some with for sure for with Leo, um, and I've seen it with Sagittarius. Enthusiastic, courageous, adventurous, independent, fiercely loyal. Now, I just love this one because my husband Peter just said to me the other day that what he really gets about Aries is that it's fiercely loyal because he sees I'm Venus in Aries, so I can speak to this. And one of the things he didn't realize was how loyal and that like I am very loyal to anything I've committed to. I'm super loyal to that, fiercely loyal to that. So that's one of the aspects of Aries. And being into rapid growth and inspired action and restoring justice and furthering a worthy cause and restoring the cosmic balance. So this is healthy Aries. So these are things we can tap into and tune into during this full moon. And if there's something, I think the commitment to a cause, to take the inspired action is something to definitely feel into. What do you want to commit to at this time of this full moon, especially when it's so close to the earth?
Yes, yes, absolutely. I mean, this is healthy Aries is, and it's not, promoted very much in a sense of the like we always see that, and we're going to talk about that, the sort of the some of the sides of Aries that are more in the shadow of Aries in the world that is happening. But when you see things like this, especially when it comes to like the furthering a worthy cause, restoring the cosmic balance and inspired action and restoring justice, and even some of these other qualities are above that, it really it can change society. It can be very, very powerful. And so I love that we're coming into an Aries full moon, and I feel like we're definitely it's good timing. We need it.
It's like it puts a spotlight on the hero, but the hero who's there to really do heroic work or to help people, to make it better, to make it safer, to make it more just and more balanced in a way that, so I think because we're going to talk about the heroic aspect that can sometimes be exhausting as well. And how do we, if we're addicted to being heroic, then that's not going to be healthy. So if people have strong Aries, sometimes they can have that addiction. And we'll look at that at the end as well.
Yeah, and that's actually one of the things about Aries too is it can do amazing things also as it makes sacrifices to the cause. Because it's not done without some sort of sacrifice or payment to the cosmos. Sometimes even sacrificing things that are dear to it in order to, right a wrong or bring greater balance to I mean, even like in Star Wars, they're bringing balance to the Force, but it's more about this sense of we'll call it righteousness, but a healthy version of that. Some because there can be a very unhealthy where it's just doing the righteous cause that is something that is not healthy for humanity, for example. But anyway, I love this slide. This is fantastic. Thank you. All right, so we can both talk about this. Obviously, this is let's see if I can. Oh, here we go. Yeah, so you can see here we have the full moon at 1408 Aries, and while the sun, of course, is opposite at 1408, just right, almost smack in the middle of the transit of the sun's transit through Libra. And you can see the moon here, right, sitting at the midpoint or near the midpoint between the beginning of the sign, the end of the sign, and also between this large collection of planets and asteroids right in here in Aries. So it's really holding court and helping us work with these energies, I think, more strongly in our lives with the Chiron Eris conjunction and what Neptune is bringing in currently as it's just started making forays into Aries this year. And you can see there's another information here about where it is in the sky. You can see Saturn here and Neptune here and the moon. Saturn's still moved back into Pisces on September 1st, and it's going to stay there through first half of February. Uh, so Kaylin, oh, and there's that trine, of course, between Chiron, Eris, and Jupiter. What would you like to share some things about this?
Well, just to say that one of the things that I've been kind of geeking out on is how Jupiter in Cancer is coming into a pretty precise square with Chiron and Eris at the time that they make their conjunction. And interestingly, the exact conjunction, they're within minutes during the full moon. So they're really conjunct, I'm just saying. But they
Yeah.
make the exact conjunction on October 8th. And then Jupiter will have moved to 24 um, Cancer. So it's an even closer square. And this is interestingly also activating the USA chart because the United States has Mercury in Cancer at 24 degrees. And so Jupiter's there, Chiron and Eris are squaring it, and we won't get into the details of anything, but people can probably see and understand that there's this discord and chaos that's been happening, ideally to bring to awareness what we need to heal. What's the deeper healing? What's the medicine that needs to come through now so we can do that? So this is happening with this full moon, and our opportunity is to make a commitment to bringing forth within ourselves to do the deeper work within ourselves, honestly, and do the healing within ourselves that needs to happen so that we can then move forward in a whole new way. Like this, it feels like because Aries is the alpha of the signs, and Neptune being at that zero Aries point here, it's at the alpha point. So there's a new beginning, but of course, it's going back into 29 Pisces on October 22nd. And so it'll be back at the omega point. So it'll be back at the ending point and then back, and then it'll come back to a beginning point in February of 2026 when it meets with Saturn. So
Yes.
this is just like setting the stage. It feels like it's setting the stage for what's coming and how are we working with that now?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I love that in this picture. So for people that go out and see the full moon, and you see especially in the northern hemisphere, you're seeing Pegasus above the full moon, kind of at a really higher point of the sky. It's this element. One of the things that a winged horse, certainly in Pegasus' case, is like mythologically, but also within ourselves, is our own freedom to fly and direct our own life where we want to go,
Yes.
and to just champion that for ourselves and owning that as we walk through life, as we run, as we dream, as we envision, as we boldly go into the future. And also sometimes even boldly having to face our past and face things that we need to get let go of, and boldly face our own inner fears. This is not about, yeah, I mean, we're going to talk more about that later, but the Pegasus energy can be really, really impressive within ourselves and impress upon ourselves so that we can fly into
Yes.
our lives.
I love that and that the idea of freedom, having the freedom to do and to live our lives in the way that we choose, as long as we're not doing harm to others. So that's just a key to keep in mind as well. It's not like you have free reign to go and harm other people, but you have free reign to go and choose what you want to choose for your life. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
That.
All right. Um,
This is
here's the
the
night's.
this is the shot. I don't know how this I came across this, but I was like, oh, this is interesting. So on the night of the full moon, you'll be able to see Saturn on one side of the moon and the Pleiades. You won't see Uranus, but you'll see the Pleiades lower coming up over the horizon at some point later in the night. And so and Saturn, so these are, if we think about all the planets having shifting signs, the outer planet shifting signs, Saturn well, is it zero Aries? We'll go back to Pisces. We'll go back to Aries. Uranus is in Gemini. We'll go back to Taurus. We'll go back to Gemini. Right there with the Pleiades. This is only something that can happen like every 80 4 years for Uranus to be here with the Pleiades like it is. So,
Yes.
yeah. So this is just because you can see them in the sky, and ideally, if you go out and watch the full moon as it's tracking across the sky, you'll get to see that if you're out at the right time after the Pleiades have risen, um, somewhat east, mostly east.
Yeah. And at late November, before the sun moves into Sagittarius, there'll be an opposition with Uranus at that time. So Pleiades will be rising as the sun is setting, and
Yeah.
and now I don't know if Uranus will be visible, but it's if you're really under specifically really like perfectly dark skies, you may have a chance to see Uranus if you know exactly where to look. Um, but don't count on it.
You want to look at the Pleiades, but then you wouldn't
Yes,
necessarily know if it's stars of the Pleiades or the planet itself. Might be a little
right.
confusing.
It might be, yeah. But so the moon is can be a great marker, especially when you see it so brightly, and then you're later on in the evening, the Pleiades is rising, and so you can remember this slide and go, oh yeah, they were talking about it at this time, and take a gander at it, but also just take in, just nourish yourself and to bathe in the night sky and what it's sharing with you.
Yeah, and in the Hindu Vedic perspective, the full moon light gives you soma, which is like a nourishing of the whole body. So spending time under the full moon is a way to nourish your being, your body, your being, and who you are. So I always feel like it's a good idea. And if you can see the moon rising, that's the best. And especially this moon rising because it's going to be so huge when it's on the horizon. And I think it might be the next slide, Erik, that shows
Oh,
um,
there you go.
one that, nope, go another one.
Oh, oh, there we go.
Yeah, there, this one. This is showing an Aries full moon rising over the Catalina Mountains where I live, and it was a super moon in 2023, um, close to the Earth. So it was just this huge, beautiful moon rising up over the mountain. So these are the kinds of things that if you get a chance to see them, and because we're being informed by these mysteries, but and we can also have our own intentions and our own way of paying attention to what's happening and work the co-create with the magic that's available at the time. So you can go back now.
All right, let's go to this one. I can talk about the Perigee full moon here. So Perigee means it's closest point to the Earth, and apogee is I always easy way to remember. Apogee starts with an A, and you can think of it as afar. And perigee, I don't know what
Yeah,
P
what's a
stands
word
for
that
as far
means
as
close?
getting up and close and
Close and
personal.
personal.
There you go. And so the super moon is definitely getting up close and personal. So you can see the differences here. The regular moon, and look at how much bigger it is when it's another super moon. And the micro moon is just a little bit smaller when the moon is at apogee. So yeah, this will be close to the actual perigee at the super full moon. So even like the next day. I think what do you have here? When is it do you know how many hours it is difference?
I forgot to put that in there.
Okay.
I don't remember, but it's within the hours that make it considered to be a
Yeah.
full moon. And then the closest one will be on November 5th. We'll be talking about that in an upcoming video. It'll be the closest and the biggest full moon of the year.
November, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so this is something interesting. So it has a bigger impact on Earth's magnetic field, higher tides. So, when you think of the term king tides, that's basically the kind of thing when you get a super full moon. Or if sometimes you can do it during a super new moon where it's like the new moon is really, really close to the Earth. You can get those king tides and definitely has a powerful impact on particularly gravitational impact, but also electromagnetic impact with the Earth and its relationship with the Earth and the sun. So yeah,
Tends to be
be
when
on the
more
lookout for that.
volcanoes go off or earthquakes happen because the impact that the moon is having on the magnetic field and the tectonic plates and all of that of the Earth. Doesn't mean that it will happen, but it tends to be when it happens the most. So for sure might happen in November. We'll see.
Right. And I was going to say, yeah, like it puts a lot of it can put a lot of tension and stress onto the tectonic plates, the fault lines, and the tides.
Yeah,
So it makes I'm not saying the Earth is shaking, but it's definitely some of it's being sort of stretched out and pulled toward the moon a little bit.
more pressure. We could say
Yeah.
higher high tides.
Yes.
High
Would
tides
you
are
call it
higher than they're
higher? Yes.
normally. Yeah, the high tides are higher.
So if
And
you're walking the beach, just make sure you look at the ephemeris and look at the tidal calendar that they usually post in close to the beach, so you know when those king tides are coming through.
right. Yep.
All right, so that's I've seen some big moons rising, but not obviously this is a full moon that took place a couple years ago, but yeah, when it's on the horizon, it's rising like that is you can't look away. It's just immensely beautiful and powerful.
Next.
Yes, next. That's right. All right. We get to talk about the night sky some more. Kaylin, why don't you go
So
ahead and
this is
start?
just gives you a bigger view of what's happening in terms of other constellations that might be visible. One of the things is the moon lights up the sky, so you don't see as many stars near the full moon, but you might see some of these farther away. But the thing that I wanted to show here is the nakshatra Ravati and how it's in the constellation of the fish. And also, so then it also kind of if you pushed it on up further, it would be a Pegasus above that would be part of it. And then you can also see how the moon is going to be conjunct two stars we're going to talk about later, Al Janeb and it's not as precise because the full moon is at 14 um, Aries, but it's pretty close. And then Alpheratz, which is also at 14 Aries. And the nakshatra, from a tropical point of view, goes from 12 Aries 40 to 29 Aries 44. So it basically is starting to line up with the star Al-Rishi at the knot of the fish, at the bottom of the fish. So the moon will be moving through this nakshatra for several hours after the exact full moon. Um, and it's a pretty cool nakshatra. I think that might be the next slide.
Yeah. Um,
Oh,
oh wait,
no,
we're going to talk about Pegasus
we're going
first.
to talk about Pegasus first. Okay, go ahead.
So yeah, the word Pegasus is related to the Greek Pegai or Pege, a spring, Greek Pegazo, spring forth to gush forth, having a watery essence. And Pegasus caused healing springs to gush forth as he pawed the earth with his hoof on Mount Helicon. Algenib is within 4 degrees of the full moon and is an Aries-like star. Pegasus and the star Algenib feature the gifts of a sharp, decisive mind, enthusiasm, adventure, generosity, kindness, and philanthropy. So you can see some Aries qualities in there as well, particularly the enthusiasm, decisive mind, and the adventure. Um, the shadow of Algenab and Aries is combative, obstinate, and ruined by headstrong conduct, and certainly, yeah, and Aries too. So Alpharet's Arabic for the horse's navel is in the same degree as the full moon. And this star is part of both Pegasus and Andromeda, bestowing a drive for freedom and intellectual expansiveness, going beyond the limits of cultural norms. So the Andromeda constellation and the Pegasus constellation, they're actually tied together. They're
This star. This is the
in the
star that
star. So, like if
active.
you look right here, yeah, you can see there's Andromeda here and there's Pegasus. They're right next to each other. That one star shares that in common there. So it's supposed to represent Andromeda on the back of Pegasus. in or hanging on to her. Pegasus, in that image right there. But yeah, one could even say there's kind of a liberation happening there for Andromeda.
Who's been
Um,
saved to the rock so that the Cetus, the whale, can come and devour her. And then
right.
story is that not Hercules. The other
Perseus.
Perseus comes and saves her. But I read a story not when my kids were growing up that had Andromeda say, "I will go deal with Cetus," and she's out there dealing with Cetus, and Perseus shows up and helps her. I like that story better.
Yeah. Yeah, it shows like that's more of an Aries, definitely Aries Andromeda story there. I will take charge and take care of Cetus, take care of the Leviathan, or
Right,
the in the movie Clash of the Titans, the Kraken.
right.
Um, another word for that. So known for cultivating good relationships, this full moon suggests the universe is ready to help us move forward in the best way possible if we choose it.
And we do have to choose it. And that is something about Aries as well, because it's about action. So we need to take decisive action. I like to say inspired decisive action, but it is,
Hmm.
and that is also our way of choosing it. When we take action towards something, we're choosing what we're taking action toward.
Yes, yeah, I fully agree.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about the
Okay, now we've
nakshatra
got
here.
nakshatra. Okay, so this is nakshatra 27 out of the 27 nakshatras in the Vedic realm. And I do know that sometimes there's a way of maybe I don't know if it's more sidereal or what. There's 28 nakshatras, but anyway, this is the final nakshatra, and it's considered to be the most auspicious of these nakshatras or lunar mansions, as they also call them. And so it has a lot to do with prosperity and new beginnings and growth and vitality. And when the moon is in Ravati, it is an excellent time to start a new journey, whatever it may be. So it might be you start a new job or you start a new you move to a new place or you go on an adventure or you get married or you whatever. Whatever the adventure might be. So Ravati, the symbol, as you can see here, is looks like two fish and is an all-seeing eye depicting learning and movement. And as the final nakshatra, it's also synthesizing and integrating the mysteries of the previous 26 chakras. So this is a powerful one. So if you have planets, angles, or nodes between 12 degrees and 40 minutes of Aries and 26 degrees of Aries, then you have that planet would or angle or node would be in this nakshatra. So so the other energy that's connected to this nakshatra is nurturing, spirituality, and intuition. It's ruled by Mercury and the deity Pushan, who is the protector of travelers and herds. And so people, if you especially the moon, but any other planet or angle or node in this place in the sky, then these are they may mean that you are more compassionate, spiritual, possess strong intuitive or foresight abilities. And while people with this can be nurturing and supportive, especially in relationships, they may also need to manage their emotional sensitivity and over reliance on belief to maintain a grounded state of being. So this is considered the star of wealth and well-being and the power to nourish, transcend, and protect and protecting and guiding a soul home, because that is the job of Parshan as the deity of this nakshatra. He is a solar deity and is known as the prosperer and increaser and god of nourishment, and also the psychopomp or the conductor of souls, guiding them to the other world. And so he's often depicted with braided hair and a beard, riding a chariot pulled by goats, and carries a golden lance or scepter. So there's a couple of different versions here. I got the goats, the chariot and the goats, and I don't think I got the scepter and the beard. But this was definitely also a version of Parshan, so people could have a sense of what he looks like.
Yeah, and in fact, I mean, if we look at the symbol, of Ravati here. It's an eye, but it also shows kind of the combination of two fish kind of blending together opposite.
Yep.
And it's an ancient symbol that's also connected with Christianity too. And but it's also the sense of the constellation of the fish, like it's connected into that constellation. And even the sign of Pisces itself. There was an astrologer who wrote an article about uh, this particular symbol, not Ravati, but the Pisces symbol, and how it relates to the fish and the feminine energy, and how it's connected into that space there. And so it's really fascinating to see that symbol of Ravati here, and how it's in this case in the tropical sign of Aries, and that we're kind of blending them together, and I love that because it's here we get to the end of the sign of Aries, and this is like we're moving towards um, another sign coming up here, the next nakshatra, and a person can use this, you know, not just to look at Aries energy, but they can look at like these nakshatras provide layers, of additional meaning and symbolism to help us understand some of the deeper details of what all of this represents for us. So, that's something we can look at, and that's why and Kaylin is bringing this in, that could be really highly valuable.
Because we want to reconnect the tropical seasonal signs to the constellations that they're now overlaying, because over 26,000 years, every season will be with every constellation. And interestingly, I love what you were saying about because when the zero Aries point entered the fish 2,000 some years ago, um, that was the beginning of Christianity. Interesting.
Yes.
We talk about this in our on our class on the difference between signs, or no, the zodiacal constellations, but we bring in these things that let us know that there was a shift that was going on at that time, that let us know that something that this new energy was entering into the fish. And Aries being also, so we there were a lot of uh wars between like Muslims and Christians, and or Christians against people they didn't like. Very Aries like. It's like, oh, where's the peace and the love? It was not, it's been more warlike um to have Aries overlaying this constellation.
Yes. Yes, it has. And it's, there's still, of course, right now, still very strong elements of that happening today
Yeah.
in the
And
world.
Erik still overlays this constellation. But I think that there's a opportunity here where we could bring, instead of being the war makers, the peacemakers, and the peacemakers could, if they can just have the ability to show up in a stronger way, not that they haven't been, but that there may still be a chance for that to all shift and change. It's just taking over 2,000 years for that to happen.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, at times it's a very slow evolution. And but I do think we're in a time of acceleration. So I'm hopeful that the more peaceful attributes come out, much more so in the coming years.
And if you consider the sun in Libra opposite Aries, Libra being the peacemaker, wanting to really create that sense of peace, and Aries being the one that can stand for that, can support that, can be the one that takes action for that to happen. I mean, that's the possibility we have here at this full moon.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. All right. And then the Sabian symbol, 15 Aries is the Sabian symbol, and something I like to look at the new and full moons. So this Sabian symbol is the main one is a person weaving a blanket in the light of the setting sun. And so keywords are the fabric of one's being, traditional pastimes and skills, weaving security and independence, patience and gentle handcrafting, stories, especially those handed down, tales and traditions, consideration of one's unique history, weaving spinning looms, the warp and weft of life, one's life story, past and present, being focused on one's task, colors, and dyes and threads. This is from the Sabian Oracle by Linda Hill, page 15. So interpretation, it's really a creative outlet for the accumulated energy and the creation of something worth doing in the world. It opens up a way to express oneself in a fashion that is unique to the person, as well as honoring the skills and wisdom of one's ancestors and teachers. So there, in certain traditions, in certain cultures, creating fabric and particularly blankets and rugs and things, it's about also weaving those stories into it. The teachings and sharings of the grandmothers and grandfathers over the millennia. And so this full moon is also a tapestry of our stories. So there's a sense of connecting into that space within oneself. Now you don't. It's not. I'm not saying that everyone's got to go and weave a blanket on that day. It's just more about like what are our stories to our ancestors and how can we take action to honor that, to work with that energy, to have a healthy expression, and also I think in the light of Chiron Eris, to also heal from the
Mhm.
past as well. Both heal the past and to heal our current time in which we're living in.
It feels like the weaving aspect is the action. It doesn't have to be weaving specifically, but that it's speaking to the action that's needed, and that's very Aries, taking
Yes.
action. Yeah. So I love it. It's awesome.
All right.
So
Let's look at
Aries,
this.
sacred warrior for kindness, and also the peaceful warrior. But I like to think of that it that Aries can stand for kindness. It can stand for justice. What restoring justice, and it can stand for forgiving the unforgivable because it takes a lot of courage to do that. But here we're going to focus on the kindness aspect. So. And again, we were talking about the freedom, but so Aries would protect the freedom to choose the cosmic order, truth, justice, to choose these things, to choose what is in alignment for us, and especially as long as it's not doing harm, to choose family and tribe, and also deeply committed to a noble cause or worthy mission. We've talked about that already. And because enthusiasm is part of the Aries energy. So the warrior would have enthusiasm for restoring balance and be passionate and bold and fiery and enthusiastic and courageous and skillful and independent and one-pointed and steadfast and loyal and creating a safe space for evolutionary change that serves the greater good. That is also what the sacred warrior energy of Aries, when it's really healthy, is choosing. And it's here to initiate healthy forms of sovereignty so that each person has the ability to be sovereign within themselves and not be manipulated and controlled by outside external forces, which seems like there's a lot of that goes on and has gone on for eons of time. And also to protect the rights of all life, not just, a few, which seems like that's also something that's been going on for a long time. And cultivate trust and camaraderie, as well as having the freedom to be one's authentic self. Um,
Hmm.
would be very important to Aries. So here we have Archangel Michael as the sacred warrior representing kindness and like how do we take care of ourselves and each other.
Yeah, it's a strong protective energy as you shared here, and does create safe space in that way. In the obviously a little bit different the way that say Pisces or Cancer would do that as signs, but it can do that through its action, through its devotion to a cause, to justice.
It
So I
reminds me,
like that.
oh, go
I
ahead.
was just to say I like that. I like that that you've got that there.
Yeah, it reminds me that the original midwives for women giving birth did not help them give birth. They created a safe space for them to give birth because they're vulnerable at that time. So I always think of Aries, the Aries energy as it's like, how do we create the safe space to birth the ideas, the concepts, the whatever it is that we want? We need a safe space to do that. and Aries helps to create that space.
Mm, well said. All right. There's also like this really, when we're talking about Aries, one of the books that is highly inspiring is the Way of the Peaceful Warrior by Dan Millman. And like, finding one's mission purpose can sometimes be a challenging process, and many times it is not just one thing. So like it can be multiple things. And in this book, the main character is a gymnast, a young gymnast, and he's trying to he's kind of lost something in himself, and he's not really knowing what direction he's going or what he's doing, and he's going through the motions. And he finds a teacher who's being of service, and one that ends up really taking him on and showing him, introducing him to the deeper part of himself, and showing what he's not only capable of, but really finding his love and his passion in life, and his joy. And so here's some quotes from that book. It's fiction, but it's really has a powerful message, spiritual message for all of us in our own journey in life. So he looks at this from the perspective of the peaceful warrior. So a warrior does not give up what he loves. He finds the love in what he does. So it's not that like, oh, I got to give this up because maybe no one's paying attention to them, or they're on a financial level they're having trouble with that. But there's something deeper that can be brought into the picture so that it can help them not give up. It doesn't mean that what he's doing is going to have these ebbs and flows to it, but it can show up in a way that they don't expect within themselves. And the peaceful warrior's way is not about invulnerability, but absolute vulnerability to love, to life, and the presence you felt. This is something you've got to slide about with the sort of the shadow of Aries, and to be this sense of like, oh, I am, the Superman. One of the great things I love about the recent Superman movie that was released a few months ago, over the summer, was that it was showing a vulnerable Superman, a vulnerable warrior, and that he didn't have to do it all himself, and that he had help, he had a team, he had friends. And that's something that at times the toxic version, or the Aries that needs to think that they got to do it all themselves, and they can't rely on anybody else, and they've got to be tough 24/7. And that's not the case. That's like almost a inhuman, that's just not, you can't sustain that. And so being invulnerable, being able to be absolutely vulnerable to your life, to love and the presence of within yourself, that is to me a powerful strength. That is also emblematic of what a warrior is. And then there's no path to happiness, no path to love. Love is the path. Um, and um, and happiness is say no path to happiness, but happiness is the path. I think I didn't put that other little sentence in there. And then there's no path to peace, but peace is the path. So it's not you're trying to, like, the American mantra, the pursuit of happiness. It's you're not really, no one really they try to pursue happiness, but it's not something you can reach out and just grab. It's actually something you can just have within yourself. You've already got it, and you're living a happy life because to some degree, you're choosing that. You're also choosing peace. You're also choosing love, and that's what a peaceful warrior or a kind warrior can bring into itself without needing, unless in extreme cases, to needing to use violence or to defend itself or to defend others. It's about like living that life. I think there's almost a little bit of stoicism in that, in a sense. I mean, your husband Peter talks about it a little bit in previous conversations, but it's not pure in that sense of only being stoic, but it's also showing the both being vulnerable and knowing the peace and love within you as well.
Also,
And there's been great examples throughout history about that.
sorry,
It's
sneezing
okay.
on the truth.
Yeah.
there's also this idea that happiness is based on success. And we live in a very materialistic world, and so it's like how much money do you make, and how accomplished are you, and how much have you achieved? But that's not what creates happiness. And actually, if we can be happy, then we'll experience greater success, and success will have a different definition, because it's not about the external things that we can get. It's about what we live and feel inside ourselves. And I just want to say, I love this book so much. When it came out, I just thought it was amazing. And I like that underneath it, it says, The Way of the Peaceful Warrior, it says, a book that changes lives. And I feel like that does that. And then the other thing is they did make a movie out of it. I
Yes.
tried to see where it was easy to stream. You can get it on YouTube. There's other places that I didn't really recognize. So, if you want to get the short version, but the better version is the book. So thank you for bringing this through,
Yeah.
Erik.
And in the cover, it even shows a full moon up here.
Yeah, how perfect is that?
Yeah, that's perfect. All right. So let's talk about the
Okay, so now
shadow
the
of Aries.
shadow of Aries. Oh, yeah. The mercenary warrior who's fighting for personal gain or money or, some kind of recognition or whatever it might be. And it's often based on a weak or insecure ego. We're going to talk about that. Having extreme self-absorption, being selfish, narcissism, there it can be very much a shadow side of Aries. No empathy or compassion. It's like just move on, deal with it, whatever, doesn't really care. Domination, control, conquering is another shadow side of Aries. Being impatient, wanting things to happen quickly. I might have experienced that one once or twice in my life. Um, being impulsive with negative results. Because the thing is when Aries is really tapped in, it can have a sense of knowing without knowing how it knows and act on it quickly, and things work in a really good way. But if it's disconnected from that uh, greater sense of knowing or where it's coming from, then it can have negative results, be not so great. Um, Lack of commitment to a worthy cause or purpose. Aries is really happy when it has that. And if maybe if the cause isn't worthy, it's more about having domination control over other people. It eventually will not work out so well. Being
Right. Yeah.
having ruthless fundamentalism. This is the right way, and you must do it this way, or this is how you should see this, or having that fundamentalist attitude, and then highly competitive, causing negative results. So being competitive isn't bad, but it is when you're like competing with others and part of the competition. And I think we see this happening more and more, is where I'm really great and you're not. That kind of competition. Like I know how to do this and you don't, or you don't know anything, or you're dumb, or whatever it might be. It's like that competitive way of being that is not helpful. As I think for me, I feel like my Aries competitiveness is that I want to do better myself. Like I did this and I was good at it, but I could do it better. Like I just would keep being competitive with that aspect of it, not with other people. Um, I must have my own way, regardless of who gets hurt in the process. Now, I do know that a very favorite Aries saying is, um, don't tell me what to do. I say that. Uh, Sometimes people will say, Peter will say something to me. I say, are you telling me what to do? I would never dream of it. So it's like being aware of that, being aware of that. And then it stands for everyone but themselves. This is something I have definitely had the shadow side of. I would stand for everybody and not stand for myself. Let people walk all over me, whatever. Anyway, I'm getting better. And then I must be a hero no matter the cost to myself. And that can be ego driven as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, and it could be, yeah, ego driven, but also a sense of this like uh, Pisces can sometimes get to that place where it's like this martyrdom. And it's like you need to sacrifice all of it, including your life, in order for the cause, for the purpose. Yeah. I mean, certainly there are certain circumstances where there's moments in time where that has happened in history and can happen currently in real life. I mean, we could see even like law enforcement officers and firefighters and others that are helping out people, and they end up, sacrificing themselves in order to save others, in order to protect things. But sometimes they can get a little bit, there could be an over heroic energy that can show up where they may be able to do it in a different way rather than just sacrificing themselves in that sense.
Yeah, yeah, agreed.
Um, so Aries and the ego is it good or bad? Okay, so um, we on a basic level we do need ego in order to function on this physical realm. So just putting that as a main statement there, but there are spiritual practices that suggest that we get rid of our ego. I don't think necessarily completely eliminating it that is going to help, but there are ways to work with ego so that it's actually more helpful rather than more hindrance to us. And I love that you've got this here. So a healthy, secure ego is necessary to live in a healthy, fully realized life. It's also is a strong, reliant, self-reliant, and trust itself to make the best choices. Certainly, if we're in concert with our soul's intent. And an insecure ego operates from inadequacy, driven by a need to be domineering, always be right, self-righteous, filled with opinions of how things should or should not be. And we see that a lot in the world, particularly in politics and in other areas of life. An insecure ego is often excessively stubborn, narrow-minded, arrogant, and narcissistically self-centered, and is always right, no matter the cost. So, I mean, it could, certainly get to a point where it's like in this Messiah complex or this God complex where they think they have all the answers, and they're never wrong. Um, a healthy, secure ego is simultaneously confident, resourceful, willing to consider the other points of view, while at the same time being genuinely humble, open-minded, and wise. It seems like a hard thing to do, but in reality, it's something that anybody can put together in themselves. And it's a matter of some of that requires also healing to get to that place. If there could be childhood wounds, there could be things that we haven't dealt with in our lives, different challenges. But this is this is like a really not just that last sentence is a very powerfully healthy individual right there.
And we could say secure ego does not need outside validation because it's secure
Ah,
inside. And insecure ego craves outside validation, needs other people to
yes.
tell them how great they are, what a wonderful job they're doing, how amazing everything is, and sometimes at a high cost for that to happen. So if we're secure in who we are, these then we're going to live a great life. If we're insecure, we're going to constantly be seeking things outside of ourselves. So the idea is to bring it back to the the journey to have the strength and the ability to really have a sense of who we are, to be
Mhm.
vulnerable, to be to recognize where we're maybe have made mistakes and aren't always right.
Right, right.
So I think that that's also part of it. And it's like, so it's not about getting rid of your ego, but it's about creating a healthy, secure ego that doesn't need to be have that outside validation.
Absolutely. Yeah. And this is really at the altar of our time right now. And it's part of the lack of maturity to some extent in humanity that we still have a lot of growing up to do.
Yeah.
And so it's reflective of that around the world, not just here in the US, but around the world too.
Yeah.
Um, all right.
So
Oh, that is
we're
the
gonna
last one.
wrap it up
Okay.
now. Yeah, we're gonna wrap this
So
up. And this is because we've talked about the hero, and Aries can have a hero complex. They need to be the hero. They should be the hero. They have to be the hero. Whatever the reasons that we might have been conditioned around that. And I think this is probably true for men more than women, but even women can have this to a degree. And my dear friend Gina Dawn was and I did some things together back in the day. She passed in 2009. And she recognized that she had a lot of Aries, and she recognized that she had this addicted hero complex. Like she was very addicted to being the hero and often at the expense of herself. So she wrote this as a way of reprogramming any addicted hero tendencies or heroic tendencies that we might have. So this is the Recovering Hero Proclamation. I have no need to save others. I have no need to rescue others. I have no need to outshine anyone. I have no need to outthink, outperform, outproduce anyone, including myself. I don't need to know anything. I don't need to be an expert. I don't need to fix anyone or change anything. I do not need to dazzle, impress, or inspire anyone. I do not need to be the hero of my own story. In truth, I'm organic, evolving, and fallible. I allow things to unfold naturally, and I trust the flow. I joyfully accept and experience my humanity. I need nothing. All already is. Blessed be. I love
Also
this
be.
because we might choose to help people or be an expert or whatever, but not having the need to be those things is really the point. And because oftentimes we're driven by a need that somehow has been conditioned into us by the culture or family or however that might have happened. So recognizing where we might be operating out of that rather than operating out of what we're truly choosing for ourselves makes a difference. And of course, Aries wants to be able to choose for itself, does not want to be told what to do, and really values the ability to make its own choices. So there we are, I think.
Yeah. Go
So,
ahead.
Erik, any last comments?
No, I think you really covered it. I love this because it is in order, one of the great things about astrology and the archetypes is that the archetypes themselves, we could see all these healthy aspects of all of them, but we need to know and recognize those ones that kind of lie underneath and to be able to realize like, hey, wait a minute, we don't need to be all things of these extra qualities in order to prove ourselves, that we've got also these other things that we're also dealing with there. And so this could be the shadow of Aries there, but it could also be the amazing uh healthy secure, um not just the ego, but the sense of realization, fulfillment by itself, to feel balanced in its life. In fact, I've often found that a sign that might be strongly influencing in us in our lives, it's looking toward the opposite sign. It's looking toward our counterpoint in a way, but also one that has some strong resonance and alchemy with us. And if we can connect into that opposite energy, we can reveal a part of ourselves that we didn't know existed. And that, like, if you've got a lot of strong Aries looking toward Libra, looking toward like, oh, what are the opinions of others? How am I in relationship? How can I be diplomatic? How do I not run over people just to get what I want? Just attending to those needs of others in that way. But also at the same time, recognizing that there needs to be balance there too. So that's that's one way. When I look at this, I love that. That's a really beautiful and picture there you've got um, back in the day, your
Yep.
early
Yeah,
years of and well, somewhat early years of astrology. I mean, you were involved for about 10, almost 10 years by that point, right?
yeah, probably a good 9 years by then. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I love that you brought in the looking at the Libra aspect. I think Libra and Aries are both about the peacemaker. And Libra would be the one that could have the conversations and talk to people and bring them to the table and create a more peaceful way of doing. Whereas Aries, it might be more about the action. What do we need to do? What do we action do we need to take so that we can create the peace? So I love that you said that. I think that they both work towards that. That's maybe the middle ground for them is that ultimately what each desires is peace, and one will take the action and the other will, well, I guess there's action taken and when you're bringing people to talk about it, bringing people together and listening to all the different sides of things and so on. But the interestingly, the story that Tammy was reminding me of when we did the Astro Priestesses video for the Libra Solar Month was that it took 25 years for the Iroquois to create these were six warring tribes for them to be able to create peace. It took 25 years of having conversations, of negotiating, of all of that. So it doesn't necessarily happen overnight. But if that's the intent and we keep working towards that, we can create that. And I love that. So
Mm.
I think this is something that could be being amplified and activated by this super moon, super perigee full moon, and that we are, uh, with all the things going on with Chiron and Eris. I think this is the stage that's being set.
Yes. Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
Well
All
said.
all right, so I think that's it. Bye.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Happy full moon watching and take care out there.
Yes.